Good Thursday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Shane Smith here. It is January 22nd, 2026, 7:30. Just a little bit after. We're just a minute late. The joy of YouTube and Facebook. Don't have to be exactly on the half hour like television. All right, let me know where you're joining from. We got a lot of winter weather to talk about. It is been an interesting day watching the data come in between teaching classes and working on some of my projects as a district learning coach for Laurel County Schools. Digital learning coach is a fun job. Got TJ Shytower, old buddy of mine, old teacher pal from Williamsburg. Nita Bush from Slimp. Kenneth Hall joining us from Hazard. Dwayne Russellberg watching from Buckhorn. Good evening to you, my friend. Sierra Miller from London. James Beatty from Barberville. Austin Kendrick joining us from Pikeville. Marjorie Dopel from the Burg. Hey, and folks, thoughts and prayers out to the folks of Williamsburg. They had a horrific fire downtown just a couple of days ago. So keep those folks in your thoughts and prayers and look for ways to help some of those businesses try to get back on their feet. Judy Robinson joining us from London. Thank you for joining us. It was a nice day of weather besides the black ice this morning. That definitely was a little bit of a surprise. Temperatures were only forecast to go into the mid-30s, and we hit right before dawn. Skies cleared out a bit, and we ended up dropping below freezing, and it caused a mess across the Cumberland Valley. Daryl McNew joining us from Lilly, old friend of mine. Hey, Daryl, hope you're doing well. Beverly Chadwell joining us from London. Thanks for joining us, Beverly. So let's get right to it, friends. We have got a pretty impressive winter storm on our way. You wouldn't know it right now across Kentucky. We're nice and dry. Here's the 9-camera network, and all across the state, clear, calm. It is going to be cold tomorrow. Austin, most of us are going to wake up into the 20s and 30s, and then once that cold front hits tomorrow, temperature is going to drop like a rock. We're going to take a look at that here in a minute. Amanda Wilkes joining us from Pikeville. Kim Wright joining us from Corbin. Thank you, guys. Let's get right into it. High pressure remains in control. That's what's bringing us that clear and cool weather. And we're going to set the stage for what's going on. Let me turn off the old Hurricane Hunter Outlook. Don't need that. Are they flying tonight? They are flying tonight. We'll turn that on and take a look at that. Yeah, Hurricane Hunter's flying more missions tonight, sampling that atmosphere, getting us ready. High pressure in control right now. Cold front off to the north. This is going to be part one of our storm. It gets here tomorrow. That's what brings the cold air in place. To get a big time snow in Kentucky, you really need 3 pieces of ingredients. You need cold front coming in, cold air in place. You need moisture coming in from the south, and you need a low pressure tracking south of the state. Trevor, we're going to get to those snow totals in just a minute. Brenda, thanks for joining us from Delphia. Austin, snow mainly on Saturday. If we get rain, it's going to be on Sunday. We'll talk about that here in a second. So, cold front, that brings us the cold air. The moisture is going to come from the Gulf of Mexico, and our low pressure is currently back in California. Actually, you'll probably be able to see that a little bit better If I switch that to the old satellite picture. So let me do that. Go continuous United States, switch that to infrared. There you go. So that spin right over LA, that is the storm that's going to be impacting us as we go into tomorrow. And you can see some of that energy starting to transition across the desert right now. So that's kind of shearing that low to pieces, but it will reform on the other side of the Cascades and the Rockies. So that is the three players coming together. And because of that, we already have winter storm warnings out. In fact, most of the state now under a winter storm warning. All the counties highlighted in pink. Our counties in blue. Hang in there. Wilmington and Charleston will get you guys swapped over tonight. Just got to get a little closer. And then y'all will be in winter storm warnings. And we will have 120 counties with winter storm warnings across Kentucky. Winter storm warning traditionally in Kentucky means at least 4 inches of snow or at least, I believe it's a 1/4 inch of freezing rain. And I think both of those are in play. We're going to talk about that right now. Here it is. I promised you last night. We're going to have it at least by tonight. It came out about 3 o'clock this afternoon, about 3:30 if you hadn't seen it. There's my snow and ice forecast. And I know it's a mess. I know it's hard to read. There's a lot of information to convey. Let's get to it. So, southern end of Pike County, Letcher County, southern end of Perry County, southern end of Knott County, most of Leslie and Clay County, southern end of Laurel County, McCreary County, Wayne and Knox, or Whitley and Knox counties. I have you guys 2 to 4 inches of snow. That's that area in kind of that teal color. Heavy sleet, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of sleet, then up to a 1/2 inch of freezing rain, and we may even go a little more than that. This area in southeast Kentucky is the one I am the most concerned about busting. Either by getting more snow or getting plain rain in there and just messing the whole forecast up. And both of those, unfortunately, are possibilities. If anything, I would almost hope for more rain, but then I'd be worried about the refreeze afterwards, because that could cause the ice situation to get even worse. In the blue, 3 to 6 inches of snow, some sleet, and up to 1/3 of an inch of freezing rain. And I had somebody message me earlier on one of the social channels and said, why do you have Bowling Green 3 to 6 inches? Everybody else is going like a 1/2 foot plus. Listen, my interpretation of the data, I may need to adjust it. I'll see how things go. But just with what I was seeing at the time, that's what I was feeling was the best call. That's why you got meteorologists instead of computers just spitting it out. We sometimes have to put a little bit of that know-how into action. Bowling Green has not had that many 6-inch plus snows in the last 20 years. TJ asking, can the snow or ice push south? Yes, this could go either way. We are not done pushing this thing north or south. This is as of right now. This is as of all the data I've looked at. This is me taking into account a lot of the biases the models have. We're going to talk about those tonight. I spent a lot of time today researching model biases, refreshing myself on them, taking that into account as I put this forecast together. Austin, we're going to talk about snow start time in just a second. Hang in there, buddy. Let's go to the purple zone. This starts down around Mayfield. 5 to 8 inches of snow, 5 to 8 inches of snow. some sleet and light freezing rain. This extends north of Bowling Green, back over towards Columbia, up to Danville, Richmond, Moorhead, up to Ashland. 5 to 8 inches of snow. And this is, guys, this is where we're going to start seeing a sharp cutoff between who mainly stays snow and who gets that sleet and freezing rain mixed in. This is the buffer zone. This is going to be the hard one to really nail down. I went a little conservative with the snow in this zone. Patricia, this is going to start Saturday morning. I don't expect any problems tomorrow from snow or ice. Middlesboro, I've got in 2 to 4 inches, Miss Duncan, with some heavy freezing rain and sleet to go with that. When I say heavy sleet, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of sleet, and then a 1/2 inch of freezing rain. It is going to get icy down in Middlesboro, down in Bell County, Pineville, Harlan. All right, let's move north. The pinks. This includes Lexington Metro, Frankfort, E-Town, back up towards Maysville. 8 to 12 inches of snow, light sleet or freezing rain possible, but I think this is where we really start to phase the sleet and the freezing rain out, or at least I hope we do. And then up near the Ohio River. 10 to 14 inches of snow, and there could be more than that. That may be a little conservative. We'll take a look at some of the raw model data here in a bit. If you guys have questions, post them up. I'll try to answer them as we can. Let's talk about timing. Austin, you asked about timing just a minute ago. Here you go, buddy. Western Kentucky. This is going to be 5 to 8 a.m. start time, all these East Coast times. So subtract an hour for Central time. So about 4 to 7 local time for you guys. Owensboro, Bowling Green, E-Town, probably that 9 to noon East Coast time window, 8 to 11 a.m. y'all's time. Louisville, Lexington, London, Danville, Richmond, Harlan, Hazard, Jackson, Stanton and Campton, Pikeville. Probably in that noon to 2 o'clock Eastern window. Obviously, the farther east and north you are, you're going to be closer to that 2 o'clock window. And then finally in northeast Kentucky, Moorhead, Covington, Mayfield, after 2 o'clock. That's when I think the snow starts on Saturday. I do not think we see snow in Kentucky on Friday tomorrow. I think we're going to be dry all day. I think everything holds off until Saturday. So tomorrow is the last day to get ready. And this is a storm that you want to prepare for. It is a storm you want to prepare for. It is a storm that is going to cause problems. It is a storm that can shut down roads. It is a storm that can cause power outages, especially in southeast Kentucky, where I do think we see a little bit more in the way of freezing rain. So just FYI, now's the time to prepare. What can we do to prepare? Let's talk about that. I'll pop it back on the snow map while I talk about that because that's what everybody wants to see. Charge up your phones. Fuel up your cars. Worst comes to worst, you can turn the engine on. Don't do it in a garage. Make sure your vehicle's outside. You can plug a charger up, recharge your phone. You can use that for heat for a bit if the heat in your house doesn't work and you don't have an alternative source. And you may need that Monday or Tuesday. We're going to talk about those temperatures for Monday and Tuesday. That's the part of this storm that I'm worried about. It's not just the ice and the snow. It's if that causes power outages and then we get as cold as I think we're going to get early next week. That could be a killer. And I don't say that lightly. Also, good time to download and preload those iPads with some movies and TV shows. Get some on your devices. Other preparations. Propane tanks. Fill them up. Have a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector in your house if you're going to run a propane or kerosene heater in your house. You need to get some ventilation. Don't run it in a closed room. If you're running an electric heater off a generator, do not let that run overnight on the extension cord. It can overheat, get too much resistance on the line, start a fire, burn the house down. Run it for a bit. If it's on, you need to be up monitoring it. Have extra blankets laid out. If you're running propane or kerosene heat indoors, like I said, have that carbon monoxide detector. Have shelf-stable, non-perishable food. I just went and filled up propane tanks in my grill. I'll go out and cook in the cold if I have to, get us a warm meal. Take care of your pets. Got some fresh straw and hay for our dog for her little nook that she likes to hide out at under the porch because she refuses to come inside. Great Pyrenees for you. And if you got any kind of battery backup bricks, get them charged up. Also a good time to test out the generators. If you got a generator, make sure they're working. Make sure you got gas for them. Bread and milk, optional. Okay. Let's take a look at Aguacero WX for our weather futurecast. Love this product, by the way. It's a great little piece of software to display weather data. What are we looking at? We're looking at future temperatures. This is future temperature and radar. 7 o'clock East Coast time. You can see that time in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. I know that's a little hard to see. Put that request into the folks at Aguacero Weather to make it a little easier to display the time. But Friday, let's kind of take you hour by hour Friday. Starting off 7 a.m. Let me roll it back. We're into the 20s statewide. Lower 20s, northern part of the state, 30s, and upper 20s, southern part of the state. So we start off dry but cold. All right, here we go into the afternoon. Here comes the cold front. We are at 37 in Williamsburg, 19 in Covington. Cold front coming down. Here we go, 10 o'clock. 11 in Covington, 19 in Williamsburg. So the cold air rushing into place. 4 a.m. There's the start of that snow. By the way, if you're wondering what model this is a GFS. We'll take a look at a couple of the others here in just a moment. 7 a.m. East Coast time. Snow breaking out. Bowling Green westward. 1 o'clock. Snow's made it to Hazard, Lexington. I may have to up that start time a little bit in northern Kentucky. This little run came in a little faster than some of the other ones. Also notice temperatures starting to come up in the south. This is going to play a big factor into how much snow we see. Now, a couple of things to watch as this snow breaks out. Do we see a little thunder snow develop? It is possible because of the forcing we're going to see from the cold air from the north and the warm air in the south. We may get some thunder snow or thunder sleet or thunder freezing rain down along the Tennessee border. Can't rule that out. If that happens and we get some more intense precipitation, that could get really interesting because we may overshoot some of that original snowfall forecast. Now, up in northern Kentucky, this is going to be a powdery snow. This is going to be a snow that is very efficient. Normally when we talk liquid to frozen ratio for snow, we're talking 1 inch of liquid equals 10 inches of frozen. With these kind of temperatures, we might be at closer to a 15 to 18 ratio. 1 inch of rain could equal 15 or 18 inches. Down here in London, this is more of like a 12 to 15 type ratio. So it still will be very effective snow production at the beginning. Now, the GFS, here we are Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m., is still keeping everything snow. Some of the other models are starting to throw sleet or freezing rain at our direction at this point. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. I want to show you all the different possibilities. Now we're at 1 a.m. Sunday morning. Here comes that warm nose. Here comes the sleet and freezing rain. Sleet in purple, freezing rain in pink. Now the GFS is keeping the rain out. I, for one, hope it's right, because I don't want to deal with more freezing rain or sleet than we have to. So there you see the GFS is keeping it mainly snow on Sunday. Not all the other models are doing that. In fact, the GFS is kind of on an island by itself for that one. Snow moves out Monday morning, and then the cold moves in. We start off single digits, top out into the teens or low 20s, maybe a few scattered snow showers through the evening on a northwest flow. We wake up Tuesday morning 5 to 10 degrees below zero across most of the state. Likely underestimating those lows because of the snowpack. I think it'll be lower than that. Top out in the mid-20s on Tuesday. So that is the GFS model's take. So what does that mean for precipitation and snow? This is very different than my forecast. You'll notice that. If the GFS is right, my forecast is going to bust royally. This is not my forecast. This is the GFS model output. So there at the top part of the screen, you'll see the GFS is saying 20 plus inches of snow if it plays out like it says it does. Less than a half inch of sleet and just a skosh of freezing rain, less than a half inch in southeast Kentucky. I am going to be completely honest. I am rooting for this solution. I would love for this solution to happen because this is going to be the least amount of headache. And I know that sounds crazy, but when I show you some of the other solutions, hopefully it'll make a little more sense to you. So that was one model I looked at. Did not weigh that model as heavy as some of the others. Let's reload. We're going to take a look at some of the other model data. We're going to switch it over to the Canadian model. I'm going to be blunt with y'all. I really leaned heavy on the Canadian model for this forecast because it's been on a hot streak and a half lately. So here we go. 7 a.m. Friday, 7 p.m. Here comes the cold front. Temperatures dropping. It's getting us down to near zero in Covington Saturday morning before the snow moves in. 10 degrees in Bowling Green. Heavy snow for about 4 o'clock. Then here comes the sleet. Now, I don't know how much I buy that. That is going to have to be a pretty crazy strong warm nose to get sleet at 18 degrees. But that is what the model is showing. Here comes the freezing rain. This I could buy. Freezing rain at 25 degrees and a warm nose coming over top of that. Yeah, I can buy that. Now, it's trying to take temperatures into the 40s. I don't think that's going to happen. I was talking to another meteorologist friend of mine, and he noted that the models sometimes overdo warm air advection and then underestimate the cold just pulling on top of a snowpack. I'm kind of hoping he's right on this because I have a hard time seeing us going to the 40s. But if that happens, we will change that over to plain rain, and then we're back over to scattered snow showers, and then the cold sets in. I don't know, once again, if I feel like that's super possible, feasible, or likely. It's going to be a battle between the warm air to the south, the cold air to the north. I don't know if that warm air scores under the cold air. We'll have to wait and see. But you're probably wondering, okay, so what's that one's snow totals and ice and sleet totals look like? Now, one thing to keep in mind with the snow totals off the Canadian model, this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. We'll be going much higher than that. In fact, I would probably go about 50 to 75% higher on these totals to account for the cold. So, Lexington, that would put you up around the 18-inch range. E-Town, 14 inches, 14, 15 inches. Louisville, 14 inches. Covington, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So, just know that that's not taking the cold into account. But we're seeing that freezing rain go much farther north and heavier in some spots, going close to 3/4 of an inch, Berea and Columbia. I hope that's wrong. And then a 1/2 inch of sleet in southern Kentucky. So that is another model's take. Oh, that had the GFS panel. There's the Canadian panel. It's like, that didn't look right. Yeah, there's a... Yeah, 2 inches of sleet in Williamsburg, according to the Canadian. That's a lot of sleet. That is a lot of sleet. Okay, so that was another model I looked at when putting the forecast together. Here was the third kind of big model I looked at least as far as the long-range models go. That's a good old Canadian model. Canadian model has been on a tear and a half lately, friends. It's been doing really, really well. Can I get both? Sorry, still trying to work the bugs out of this program. Sorry, Hopkinsville. All right, here we go. 1 o'clock Friday, 20s to the north, near 40s to the south. Cold front dives south. You notice we all start out pretty much the same. Snow breaking out Saturday morning, 7 o'clock. Canadian or the European model, a little bit slower. Here we go to 1 o'clock, near the I-75 corridor. Watching those temperatures like a hawk. Notice that heavier band of snow along the Tennessee border. Showing us switching over to freezing rain around 10 o'clock. Once again, I question that a little bit. Start to see that maybe closer to 1. That's going to have to be a pretty warm push of air to fight against that cold. And once again, showing plain rain. I could see us maybe getting up to 34, 35, especially with a little bit of downsloping. But we shall see. And then we got to worry about that all refreezing and just creating an icy mess. Then the northwest flow snow kicks in, takes us through Monday. Monday, 1 o'clock. Central Kentucky's in the single digits. We're in the teens. We wake up Tuesday morning below 0. And for the European, I'm going to pull up. "17 inches of snow, Louisville, 18 inches, Covington, 14, Lexington and E-Town, 3 in Paintsville, 6 in Berea, 3 Columbia, 6 in Bowling Green, 4.5 Murray, 9 in Paducah. 1/2 inch to 1 inch of freezing rain across most of southern Kentucky, and a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of sleet." So that is all the different data I looked at, or not all of it, but that was a lot of the bigger players I looked at to lead into this snow forecast. So let me go back and take a look at some of the comments. Dwayne, hoping it's just snow near Buckhorn. I'm right there with you, buddy. Tri-County Adventure on YouTube said, "I've seen all kinds of totals, not sure how much we're going to get." I can tell you down around Knox County, I'm putting y'all 2 to 4 inches right now with about a half inch to inch of sleet and up to a half inch of freezing rain right now. Ice will start in Columbia likely late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, Jason Sheldon. Austin, not going to rain tomorrow night. If it's going to rain, it's going to be Sunday out in Pikeville and out in eastern Kentucky. So that was some of the data I poured over to kind of come up with a forecast for y'all. But that wasn't the only data I poured over. The Weather Prediction Center puts out a nice little set of products. And for you guys that don't know who they are, that's part of the forecasting branch of the National Weather Service that handles precipitation forecasting. They do probability-based forecasts. So with those probability-based forecasts, they give you a percentage chance of something happening. So this map right here, probability of snowfall of 18 inches of snow or more. Yes, there is a legitimate chance, be it 5 to 10%, up near the Ohio River, including some friends of mine over in Vevey and Madison. Y'all have a 5 to 10% chance of seeing 18 inches of snow. So you're saying there's a chance. Let's talk some more realistic numbers. 4 inches of snow. Folks at the Weather Prediction Center say London, Hazard, and Pikeville are in kind of a 40 to 50% chance of 4 inches of snow or greater. Get up to Lexington, 80% chance. Maysville, Covington, Louisville. Oh yeah, 90% chance. Y'all probably going to get at least 4 inches of snow. Let's go greater than 8 inches. Small chance in London, 5% chance. Get up towards Berea, we crank that up 20 to 30%. Lexington, 50 to 60% chance of at least 8 inches of snow. About 12 inches. So that is what the folks at the Weather Prediction Center are saying for their probability of snow. So once again, winter storm warning continues through Monday. Let's answer some more questions. Go ahead and put the snow forecast back up. I know that's the one everybody wants to see. Jonathan Johnson asking a question on Facebook. Something that confuses me is how it'll have Middlesboro getting maybe an inch of snow, but yet it snows for 12 hours straight, and then maybe somehow it rains when it pushes 30 degrees. Just hard for me to wrap my head around these numbers. All right. Jonathan, Middlesboro, let me tell you, that place is a conundrum, wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a mystery when it comes to weather. Where you all have that crater you're in, you're surrounded by mountains on every side, so you get downsloping almost from any direction. Downsloping is when you take air from above and push it down. When that happens, you get a phenomenon called adiabatic warming. Now, without getting too super technical, when air gets pushed down, it warms. So any direction Middlesboro gets wind from, just about it causes warm air to come into the bowl. So it's not the meth bubble as some people joke down in Middlesboro. It is because you are in a crater. You are surrounded on almost every side by mountains. Any way the wind blows, doesn't even matter. You're warming up. There's your Bohemian Rhapsody for the night. Cheers, Queen. Okay. Luke Owens asking, might be pushing the envelope a bit, but I overheard there's another storm 10 days out. We ain't worrying about 10 days out. I will say next Wednesday, Clipper system. So even if we don't get a lot of snow, down here. I think a lot of schools are going to be out almost all of next week. Austin, I am going to try to post some updates this weekend. Renji708 asking, do you think it would be a good idea to go find a motel in London tomorrow if we're having heat issues? Not a bad idea. I know London is going to be opening some warming shelters, but if you want something a little more nicer, hotel may not be a bad idea, but you can't guarantee the hotel ain't going to lose power. So just be aware of that. Tri-County Adventures saying, thanks for keeping us updated. Happy to do it. My mother-in-law, any snow is too much snow. I know you are not a snow fan. I don't blame you. I'm going to be done with snow after this one for the year. I'll tell you that. Tornado Doodles 699 on YouTube. What could Ohio see snowfall-wise? Well, ask and you shall receive. Give me just 1 second, and I will get that pulled up for you. So, let me switch that to that. Ohio, parts of Ohio, especially southern Ohio, have a pretty good shot at seeing some pretty epic snow. Give me just a second to get that map adjusted. Sorry, I didn't have one pre-built for Ohio. Weather producing on the fly. All right, here we go. Oh, whoops, close that panel. Don't want to see that. All right, there's the great state of Ohio. Tornado Doodle. If the European model is to be believed, most of the state of Ohio is going to end up with a foot plus. And I'd say that's a pretty safe bet at this point. 12 to 16 inches, pretty much statewide. Looks pretty good to me. Eric Gibbs checking in. Thanks, Shane. Best meteorologist with the most accurate information analysis. Thank you, my friend. Sandra, hey, thanks for checking in from Texas. Shane Stamper, is hazard a little iffy? Rather, will we see the second part of this as ice or snow? Shane, it is looking iffy and hazard. I would say at this point, snow changing to sleet, changing to freezing rain, changing back to snow. There may be some plain rain in there after the freezing rain. We will see. Jason Sheldon, you're the only one I've found talking about my area. Thank you so much. So because of this, you answer my question. I've been asking that one question all day. Happy to help. What about Cadiz, Kentucky? Be blessed always. Let me look at Cadiz. I am not familiar where Cadiz is. Oh, out in good old Trigg County. Out in far western Kentucky. We can pull up the old snow outlook. I have got y'all right on the line between 5 to 8 in the western and northern part of the county and the southeast part of the county 3 to 6. So let's split the difference. Call it, let me see where that is. That is in the northeastern part. It's probably in that 5 to 8 inch range. So 5 to 7-ish. Jeff, hope that answers your question. Page JG99 said if the Bengals were at home for the AFC Championship this weekend, it would have been awesome. And if Josh Allen wins last weekend, then Sunday I'm Foxborough and the greatest snowball in history. Yeah, we may get a little more snow on Wednesday, Ethel. We'll take a look at that in a second. Luke Owens saying, thanks for answering that and educating us about Middlesboro downslope warm effect. I knew the mountains affect weather in all eastern Kentucky. They sure do. They sure do. Good buddy Mike Davis. Hope you're well, Doc. Are the temps going to remain below freezing or have those numbers moderated? Ask and you shall receive, my friend. Boom! 10-day forecast. Now, granted, this is for London, but should pretty much be close over in Manchester, over in your neck of the woods. A little bit colder up in Lexington. But yeah, this tomorrow may be the last day we see above freezing for about 10 days, y'all. -8 Tuesday morning, according to the latest round of the GFS. Might get back to freezing next Thursday. Reinforcing shots of cold air come in. Not a fan of that. Shane Stanford, thank you. You always do a great job. Miss you on WYMT. Shane, thanks for following me over here. And for everybody else that's followed me over from my TV escapades on WYMT and WKYT, thank you guys for following. If you followed with me, I really enjoy the freedom this channel gives me. We can go a little long form, not confined to 3 minutes. But thank you guys. Thanks for the support. And if you're new here, you like the content I'm putting out, like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. We are pushing to that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. I would really love to get there. Get the channel monetized. It definitely helps making these things a little bit easier. I do this all on my own dime. These weather apps ain't always cheap. The hardware to run them takes a little bit. So, but I do it out of a passion for weather, and I love telling folks about it. So any support can help. If you're watching on Facebook and want to support the channel, send some stars. Always helps. Oh, caddies. Sorry, Paige. Sorry. Thank you for the correction on that. Jeff Kellogg, thanks. Love listening in. Rebecca Wright asking, are we getting a lot of ice instead of snow? Yeah, Becca, here in Corbin, down southern Kentucky, the ice is going to be an issue. Unfortunately, the ice is not going to be nice. Still some questions about exactly how much. That is honestly, folks, the hardest part of this forecast right now is just figuring out where these daggum precipitation types are going to set up and where we are going to see what type of weather. This is winter weather in Kentucky is never easy. There are very few cut and dry storms. This one, it's been a headache and a half. I'll just I'll leave it at that. Let me pull up the GFS model. We'll take a look at that potential for snow next week. I know a few folks have asked about next week. I can pull Aguacero weather back up. By the way, if you're a weather enthusiast looking for a cool app to visualize that data, Aguacero weather, awesome app. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you to meteorologist Jim Caldwell for tipping me off to it. This has been awesome. So here's the latest round of the GFS model. This is Wednesday, 4 o'clock in the morning. You notice we're cold, cold, cold. And then late Wednesday into Thursday, looks like a little clipper system comes in. It's not much snow, but a ½ inch to inch, maybe a little more than that. We'll have to wait and see. Those clippers notoriously produce light snow, but it's going to be going into some pretty cold air doing it. So that snow may overproduce a little bit. We're back down below zero Friday. Highs Friday in the teens. Ew. Ew. And we won't go much further than that because that's voodoo land. But that's that is one thing we got to deal with. How much freezing rain? Rodney Harris asks. Rodney, this is one of the different outlooks I've looked at for freezing rain. There's been a whole slew of them. This is the national blend of models. Now, this particular model is something the National Weather Service has developed and implemented in the last few years. And what it does is it takes a blend of models, all the model data it can, kind of averages it out. There's some forecaster input in it, and it gives you kind of a average, most likely scenario. Now, it's going a little conservative on the freezing rain. GFS says, hold my Diet Mountain Dew. GFS says half inch or so down in southeast Kentucky. If you noticed, that's about what I went. Euro said, hold my Gatorade. 2/3 an inch. Somerset, 3/4 of an inch. Bowling Green. Clarksville, Tennessee. Ryan Hall's home away from home. 8.5 or 85/100ths of an inch. Shout out to Ryan. For those of y'all that don't know, he was my intern in 2014, and now he is the biggest name in weather on YouTube. Congratulations, my friend. It is amazing to see what you have done. All right, let's take speaking of the MBN model, you want to see its take on snow. This, honestly, isn't too terribly far off from where I forecasted, except down around Bowling Green. Five or 6 inches London, about 6 inches Somerset, 4.5 inches Pikeville, a foot in Lexington and Louisville and Cincinnati, 10 inches in Paducah. Once again, one model's take. Here's some others. British model. Now, once again, this is 10-1. Normally, I'm not a fan of 10-1 in this kind of scenario. You can almost double that up in northern Kentucky. There's the Icon models, 10-1. Once again, those probably a little bit underdone. Same for the GFS, the Euro, and the Euro AI. Actually, let me switch to the Euro AI. I really liked what it was showing last night. That's not too far off from my forecast. Once again, that's a 10-1. I think the Kuchera algorithm's on Aguacera weather. If you ever hear me mention the Kuchera algorithm or ratio, that takes temperature into account instead of going to straight 10-1 liquid to snow. Sorry for getting a little technical there. Yeah, Luke Owens, I can't take the credit for Voodoo Land. That's a James Spanism right there. For those of y'all who don't know who James Spann is, he is like the king of weather in Birmingham, Alabama. He is what I would aspire to be as a meteorologist. Been at it for almost an hour. Andrew, you should have been here last night. We went all the way to 9 o'clock. We may, I don't know if we'll keep going that long tonight, but we shall see. Sharon Fox says, hi from Corbin. Went to church with your dad and your parents. Great people. Oh, good to see you, Sharon. Thanks for stopping by. Jamie Moore, always happy to help. Austin, probably going to go live tomorrow. Maybe a little bit later tomorrow evening. Lexington Park, Maryland. Glock Low asking on YouTube. Sorry for just now seeing that and getting around to that. Give me just 1 second. I will get things pulled up. And we'll head on over to the Delmarva. One second, y'all. And let me see that town name again. Lexington Park. I am not familiar with that. But hey, I'm willing to learn a little geography to help you all out. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, Lexington Park. Okay, so you are out on let me see if I can find that on the map. So you're in the inland part. West Bank. Okay. Let's see if we can zoom in and find you. Northeast of Richmond. Heathville. Keep going. Oh, there you are. All right. Right now, GFS model showing almost 10 inches of snow, an inch and a half of sleet, 0.2 of an inch of freezing rain. Other models, Canadian, showing 3 inches, but that is low. Oh, it's showing more freezing rain for y'all. Inch of freezing rain. Ugh. That's the Euro, excuse me. Here's the Canadian. Inch and a half of sleet. 5 inches of snow, no freezing rain. Without knowing too much about the local geography or the local interaction with Chesapeake Bay there, I would say an early guess, probably 4 to 6 inches with some heavy freezing rain over there. Although I tell you, I do know a good meteorologist over in Maryland, meteorologist Mike Lichniak. Look him up, check him out. Old friend of mine from my days at WOAY in Oak Hill, West Virginia. Mike's a heck of a meteorologist. He covers a good chunk of the Delmarva Peninsula. So if you want a local guy, Mike's your guy. Shout out Mike if you somehow see this. Hope you're doing well. Rodney asking how cold it's going to get. Well, Rodney, asking you shall receive, brother. What night you want to know? You pop it back over to this. Slide back over to the good old bluegrass. About the coldest we've got, at least on the back side of this storm, is going to be Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning. Euro's not as cold. It's going 10 below in central Kentucky, not as cold in southern Kentucky because the Euro's not seeing as much snow. But if we have a snowpack on the ground Tuesday morning, look for something closer to the GFS. Anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees below zero. Take a quick look at the Euro AI. Yeah, it's showing a little rain punching in there. A little bit. Austin, they have not contacted me for a bit, bud, so don't know. But happy to help out whenever I can. Uh, Snow start times. A lot of folks have been asking about this. I think 5 to 8 a.m. Western Kentucky. This is all East Coast time. Kind of that 9 to noon window from Owensboro down to Bowling Green and E-Town. Noon to 2. Louisville to Pikeville. Northeast Kentucky after 2 o'clock. So once again, if you're just joining us, we're coming up on 8:30. Been at this an hour. I'm meteorologist Shane Smith. I'm a meteorologist based out of London, Kentucky. We are tracking a pretty powerful area of low pressure that's currently over Los Angeles, and that storm is going to track all the way across the U.S. and bring us some pretty significant winter weather here in Kentucky on Saturday, Sunday, and wrapping up on Monday. Not much to it on the radar right now, but I want to show you real quick just how much real estate this storm is going to impact. We have winter weather advisories going all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, up to Boston now. Winter storm watches extending into New England. Almost 2,300 miles of geography in the path of this storm. That is wild to think about. Absolutely incredible. We can actually show you how that storm will develop on the national scale. Give me one moment. Let me turn off my fronts, turn off my warnings. We'll clean up the old display a little bit. I gotta figure out how Ryan does all this via macro. Need my buttons to do that. Okay, we're going to switch over to the GFS model. Global GFS winter weather. All right, so here's how this storm plays out. Here we are tomorrow afternoon. Rains, freezing rain, sleet and snow breaking out into Texas and Oklahoma, snow in Oklahoma up into Kansas, back into Colorado, northern New Mexico. The storm pushes eastward. This is Saturday, 10 o'clock. It enters Kentucky. Memphis, you are on that dividing line between the snow and the sleet and the freezing rain. They are going to get a sleet storm and a half at Memphis. Memphis and Nashville both. This is going to be a storm that shuts down the South, y'all. Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, Dallas. This is going to be one that shuts everything down. There may even get a little freezing rain down in Lake Jackson, just southwest of Houston. Got some interest there. Mom, if you're watching, you may want to let my sister know. It may get a little freezing rain early on Sunday morning. I'll text her here in a little bit. System heads up the East Coast on Sunday. Get a little upslope snow on the back side of it Monday morning into Monday afternoon. It moves out. Here comes maybe a little clipper Tuesday. Here's the Wednesday and the Thursday system. Just told her no ice. Whoops. That was old data. My bad. I just saw this. This was one of the newest models. How much freezing rain in Knoxville? Rodney, hang on. I will pull that up for you in just one moment. Actually, let me switch this over. Head back over to Aguacero weather. Whoops. Close that out. You guys don't need to see how the sausage was made. Let me scoot that over a little bit. All right, so Knoxville. This is the GFS model. 1/2 inch of freezing rain, 1/2 inch of sleet, 2 inches of snow. European model says 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain in Knoxville, supported by the Canadian. And let me switch that to the NAM. NAM says 3/10 of an inch. So I would say probably down in Knoxville, a good average of the models, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. That seems to be a pretty good bet. That's going to cause significant problems down in Knoxville. That will cause power outages. That will cause some major delays and some trouble on the roads. Myrtle Parker asking, how much snow for VV, Indiana this weekend? Right now, I've got y'all 10 to 14 inches, Myrtle. Could see up to 16. Some of the models are going a little more aggressive than that. On the move with Keytrend. Did I pronounce that right? Wintersella, Arkansas. What time will it hit? Give me 1 second, my friend. I'm going to have to look that one up. Man, y'all are giving me some interesting places to look up tonight. I actually have a family out in Arkansas, down around Mountain View. Oh, what time will Wintersella hit Arkansas? We're at in Arkansas. Sorry. Hang on. Let me switch this over real quick. Let's go back to Radar Omega. I've already got the model pulled up there. Arkansas. This is 7 o'clock on Friday. So west of Little Rock. It moves in. By 1 a.m., the southern half of the state is seeing sleet. North of Little Rock up to Jonesboro, Ryan Vaughn country. Seeing snow. Staying snow in northern Arkansas through 7 a.m. on Saturday. Sleet in southern Arkansas. You guys just keep getting hammered. This is going to be an extended event. Y'all don't clear out until Sunday evening. And probably going to end as all snow. That's going to be I hate to use the word crippling, but that is going to cause a lot of problems in Arkansas. I can tell you that. This storm's going to cause a lot of problems in a lot of spots. My neighbor Aaron asking about power outages here in London, Kentucky. Yeah, Aaron, I'm a little concerned. If we lose power and you need heat, brother, come on over. We got a propane fireplace, so we'll keep the house warm one way or another. But yeah, I am worried about power outages in southeast Kentucky. Just because of the ice. Once again, if you're just joining us, here's my snow and ice forecast for the state of Kentucky. 2 to 4 inches of snow, a half inch to an inch of sleet in the teal color, up to a half inch of freezing rain. London is in the 3 to 6 of snow, some sleet, we'll say up to a half inch, up to a third of an inch of freezing rain, but that could vary a little bit. This is just this is going to be one of those storms that we talk about for a long time. This is going to impact a lot of people, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. All right, will it be cold weather tomorrow night? Austin will be a little bit on the cold side. We will be into the teens tomorrow night. Any other questions? Still got about 40 people joining us. If you like what I've been doing, y'all, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share. Shares help a lot. Let folks know we will be back at this tomorrow, probably a little later tomorrow. Don't know if Eli will let me live stream at 7:30. He may be a little wild. We may try it. We'll see. We'll see how he's doing. But this is going to be a storm we talk about for a while. This is definitely one for the record books, and just to show you again how big this area impacted is going to be. Just tons of watches, warnings, and advisories because of it. That is a lot of geography. This storm is going to impact a lot of people. Linda, that's a good question. Not in the next 10 days. There ain't a single temperature above freezing past tomorrow. So whatever falls is going to stick around for a while. And then we may get a little extra snow Wednesday, Thursday. May see another system come in after that. As long as we keep it cold, we get something coming in. Jeff and Starlin Steely. Will there be school Monday? Doubtful. If there is a single public school system that has school besides an NTI day on Monday in the state of Kentucky, I will be shocked. I don't know if most of Kentucky will be in school next week. Just being 100% honest there. This is going to be a shut it down type event, y'all. Like, shut it down. When you get that much snow and that much ice and nothing to melt it but the sun, it's going to take a while to get rid of that. And honestly, you think back to last January, we had that brutal cold stretch here in London, we didn't have a lot of snow on the ground. We only had an inch or two. We didn't go to school hardly at all in the month of January because it just stayed cold and we kept the roads icy. There was no way to melt it. We were so cold, salt wasn't working overnight. Anything that melted during the day refroze at night. It was a nightmare. We could be looking at a very similar situation on a much wider scale. How much snow in Lexington, Rodney? Right now I got Lexington 8 to 12 inches plus. If y'all don't see much in the way of sleet or freezing rain, y'all may go 12 to 16. Just being real with you. I can actually pull up. Give me just a second. And I will pull up a plethora of model outputs for snow. Excuse me. Still getting over that sinus infection, y'all. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to set up a little 4-panel for you to see all the different models and what they are showing for snow. Give me just a second. A little producing on the fly. While you're here, if you got questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to answer. All right, let me. Sorry for that. Let me switch that over. Here we go. 4 models for the price of 1. VPOL 88 asking what's the greater source of it happening? It pushing further north or coming back to the south? Well, it depends on what you want to happen, VPOL. If you're rooting for the snow, you want it to go south. If you are wanting more ice, you want it to go north. If you're wanting rain to make things even more complicated, and then especially when we refreeze it, you want it to go even north and be a little stronger. So your mileage may vary on that. Okay. Why is that one 10 to 1? Let me switch that real quick. Sorry. That may not have. Oh, whoops. Model, precipitation, total snow. Layer. Load color map. There we go. Sorry for producing on the fly, y'all. Okay. Here's all the different models. So, GFS obviously is the heaviest with the snow. The European over here on the right, let me close that out so it's easier to see. European has more heavy snow over northern Kentucky, less snow over southeast Kentucky. The Canadian, kind of in between. The NAM, a little bit closer to the Euro, but not as strong. It's got everything a little further northwest. It's probably the farthest northwest. Although I'm going to tell y'all a real bad bias um, of the NAM model is it tends to overdo warm air advection. In layman's terms, it pulls up too much warm air with storms. That's why I have not leaned honestly too heavy on the NAM for this one. I think a better option if you're looking for more of a regional forecasting model, the regional Canadian, I think is a good model. That seems like a pretty respectable snow forecast to me. But once again, Jerry Messer asking is going to be worse than 1978 in snow or worse than 1978 in London. Jerry, unfortunately, I am not familiar with 1970. Was that a blizzard in London? I think it was. We're going to see a quick search of the weather history. How much snow did we get in 78? Let's look that up. Blizzard 78. London, Kentucky. Snowfall total. Come on. I will have to look that up. 16 inches of snow. Guessing that was Lexington. Some media recollections of group postings suggested snowfall between 15 and 36 inches. Lexington had 14.2 inches. I can tell you the biggest snow I remember in London was the blizzard of '93, and we ended up having, I think it was 18 inches officially at the airport, but I know there were some drifts that were like 2 or 3 feet tall. I was like, oh gosh, 7 years old at the time, and like I remember like tunneling through the snow as a kid. It was wild. Malik Mousehold says numbers might seem small when it comes to ice accumulation, but do not let those decimal points fool you. It doesn't take much ice to cause significant problems. That is entirely correct. Here in Kentucky, most of the power companies say if you get more than a quarter inch of ice, start to expect power outages. So anytime we get into that third of an inch, half of an inch higher, it's an issue. Hello, Lanesra Trask on YouTube. Any other questions? Still got about 30 people joining us. I think we will probably wrap it up around 9 o'clock. We'll call it then. So yeah, this is the 4-panel chart for what the different computer models are showing for our possible snow. This is why this is why the forecast has been so hard to put together. The data is just all over the board. This one I will be updating. I'll probably update it first thing in the morning before I head to school. Probably update it again tomorrow evening before it starts, and then we'll wait and see. Garrett Likes Carrots on YouTube asking, what's the highest amount Lexington can see? Let me pop back over to Aguasera. Highest bit of model data right now, 21 inches. I've got y'all officially in 8 to 12 inches. Plus, it depends on how much sleet. Sleet is going to be the limiting factor on this one. The more sleet we get and freezing rain, the less snow. The less sleet and freezing rain, the more snow. So the GFS would be the snowier option. The Euro, a lot more of the freezing rain and sleet option. Both the Canadian models are kind of the in-between. Hey Trisha, hope you're well. How much snow in Stanford, Kentucky? Stanford. Good old Lincoln County. I've got Stanford right now in 5 to 8 inches of snow. But y'all aren't far from that 8 to 12. My brother-in-law Sean asking, do we have to worry about Burger King being closed? Sean, I can tell you this. I'd say if y'all get a half inch of freezing rain, about the only thing that's going to be open in Hazard is going to be Circle T. I remember the snowstorm in February 16 when we had about a foot in Hazard. I had camped out at the station 3 nights. The only restaurant open in town was Circle T. Tanner Hesterberg went down there to do a story on it, dropped a GoPro in the deep fryer. I think that clip is still on YouTube if you look hard enough. One of the fun war stories from television. Slept in a newsroom, or the basement below the newsroom for 3 nights in a row on an air mattress. I didn't leave the station for 3 days. So once again, we're wrapping it up here in about 5 minutes or so. Thank you all for joining us. I will have another update tomorrow morning. Not a live stream, but probably a short video. We'll do some kind of either live stream or long form video tomorrow night. Probably a live stream. Maybe a little later than this one. We'll see how Eli's doing. Those of y'all don't know, my little boy Eli, 5 years old, he is wound up sometimes. So don't want him jumping in. Yep, we did miss our first Valentine's Day because of that storm. My wife just reminded me of that. It was Valentine's Day. Oh. Am I worried about a major ice storm in southern Kentucky? Chris, at a half inch, yeah, I would call that a major ice storm. Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If you are in that teal color, I'd say power outages are likely. And even into the blue, if we get a third of an inch of freezing rain, you're going to get some isolated power outages. They may not be as widespread, but some of those more rural areas, some of those lines that the trees come down on out in the sticks, there could be some power outages. Most snow we can see drop per hour in this kind of a setup. Garrett, well, let's use the models. Uno momento, por favor. Let's roll back the clock. We'll zoom in on southern Kentucky. So these are 3-hour increments. So I can't do hour by hour, but we can divide by 3. So Murray jumped up about an inch. You can maybe see some snowfall rates approaching a ½ inch to inch per hour, especially if we get some thunder snow. That's one thing I haven't talked about a whole lot, but is not out of the realm of the possibility on the onset of this system. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know it could do that. You'll learn something new. But yeah, during the onset, we may get some thunder snow because you're going to have that warm air from the south coming up. You're going to have the cool air from the north coming out. They're going to collide. That's going to cause some local lift, some convergence. That could cause thunder snow. You get that, you're going to get some snowfall rates 1 to 2 inches per hour. Something to watch out for. Also can see thunder sleet or thunder freezing rain. I have not seen thunder sleet. What was that? March of 2007 we had thunder sleet in London. I was on spring break from college. It was either 2007 or 2008. I can't remember which year. And then thunder snow, the last time I saw thunder snow was in 2009 in Oak Hill. It was actually the December 19th snowstorm. That storm in Oak Hill dropped 27 inches in a day. And I remember it dropped about 3 inches in an hour at one point. There were snowflakes legit $50 size. Don't think we'll see anything like that with this storm, but that was pretty crazy. All right, folks, so we are going to wrap it up. Just to recap, here's my snow forecast. This is not a model. This is not anybody else's forecast. This came from the brain and the heart of meteorologist Shane Smith. Good things do happen on December 19th. That's my wife's birthday. 10 to 14 inches up along the Ohio River. There could be some isolated spots that go higher than that, including my friends over in Vevey and Madison, Indiana. In the pink, 8 to 12 inches plus. There could be a few spots that go a little above a foot if we don't see much in the way of sleet or freezing rain. Think we start mixing in sleet and freezing rain. Here into the purple, 5 to 8 inches of snow, maybe a little sleet, maybe up to a 1/4 inch of freezing rain. Oh, and we did get engaged on December 19th. Yeah, it's kind of a big day in our family. 3 to 6 inches of snow in the blue. A little bit of sleet, up to 1/3 of an inch of freezing rain, 1/2 inch of freezing rain in the teal, 1/2 inch to 1 inch of sleet, 2 to 4 inches of snow. That's the forecast. Will it change? Yes. How is it going to change? I don't know yet. We'll see what the data does overnight. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you like what I'm doing, Like, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, send stars. They help. Um, over on YouTube, click that subscribe button. It helps out a whole lot. Share it out. Let folks know so they can watch after the fact. If you're watching after the fact, uh, share it out. Also, going to try to have some updates tomorrow. Those will be coming mainly on Facebook. I may try to post a little bit over at X. May do a short form video in the morning. We'll see if I've got time. I'm going to be busy tomorrow. We've got a TSA competition tomorrow at the school. So good luck to my kiddos competing in that. Got a team doing photographic tech, audio podcasting, STEM mass media, and on-demand video. So I've got like 4 teams competing tomorrow. So hoping it goes well for them. But I'll try to post some updates throughout the day tomorrow. And we're going to track this. We're going to see what happens. Be prepared, friends. Load up. Make the necessary preparations. I'd say we'll start to see a lot of information about shelters come out. Check your local county government, your local city government, local churches. We're going to get through this. We can prepare for it. But it's going to take everybody doing their part. All right. That's going to do it. I'm meteorologist Shane Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll have more updates coming up on your Friday. Until then, take care. Stay weather aware. See y'all next time. Bye now. Whoop.